Entrepreneurs like to focus on efficiency. For some reason, they think that efficiency translates into results and success. Maybe you think that way too. Well, today I am going to prove to you why that's not the case and why you shouldn't focus on efficiency. If you're thinking about scaling up your business, then watch on because I think this is going to be useful for you. All right, I'm going to dive into my iPad just to illustrate this concept to you. First of all, we need to really understand what efficiency means. To illustrate this better, we need to contrast this with effectiveness. Now, this is not an English lesson, so we're not really concerned about the definition of terms. What we want to be concerned about though is what the concept and the frameworks and the mindsets are behind these terms. And in case these terms aren't familiar to you, here's what they really mean. Efficiency typically refers to doing things right. And I'm going to explain what effectiveness is first. And effectiveness is doing the right things. This is the difference between the two. And my favorite analogy for this is the analogy of Usain Bolt and myself in a sprint. In case you don't know who Usain Bolt is the world's fastest man. And if I say that I can beat Usain Bolt in a sprint, that can be pretty hard to believe. But I can really do that if Usain Bolt runs in the wrong direction. And that is all it takes for me, clearly not the world's fastest man, to beat Usain Bolt, who's clearly the world's fastest man. So what does this concept tell us? It tells us that there's an important difference between speed, which is what Usain Bolt has, and direction, which is what is crucial and critical in a race. And when we think about it, it's crucial and critical in all aspects of life, especially business. So when we look at the two terms efficiency and effectiveness, this is literally what it means. Efficiency is speed. How well, how fast, how right you do stuff, that's speed. And effectiveness is really direction. Knowing where you're going. This is the difference between the two. And when you think about it, what is speed if direction isn't there? So that's the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. The way I like to look at things is not from an efficiency standpoint at the start. That's why in the super scaling framework, in the 5 principles, when I look at the execute principle, which is all the way at the last part of the framework, that literally is the last thing we look at, because we want to make sure the fundamentals are there first. We want to make sure that the direction is right first before we even look at efficiency. Only then can we start optimizing things. So in efficiency, there are a few things that matter, and I like to use the RSET funnel. You can find this on my website, in my book, in the foundation program, so go check that out if you have not. I'll drop a link or URL below and you can go explore that. But I'm going to give you a brief overview of the RSET funnel and how that applies to efficiency in our businesses. Now, in businesses, there are several forms of, several areas where efficiency can be improved. And when we look at efficiency, there's a ton of efficiency areas that we can work on. There's operational, which is, the day-to-day stuff that happens in the business, how we make that better. There's manpower or labor efficiencies, basically how efficient people are. There is also process efficiency, which is like, how efficient your processes are, whether or not they include a lot of waste, whether or not they include a lot of redundancy that you want to cut out. So, all these are, there's also financial. Mustn't forget about financial. So financial efficiency is literally how efficient you are with your finances. Are you optimized for your cash flow, for your expenses? Are you accounting for things properly? And yes, we just see how efficient you are in that area. So there's a ton of areas that we want to look at in our businesses. And the way we actually improve it, I use the RSET funnel, right? And this is a funnel that I cover in my book and in my framework. So go check that out. Number one, we want to make sure we analyze the situation first. That's key and core of everything that I do. I want to make sure that before I go about solving a problem, I understand what the problem is first. That allows me to really properly scope things out, identify the main issues, and then come up with a solution. I think one of the problems that people typically do is to come up with a solution first to a problem that they assume is right, or they assume is accurate, and then they realize there's a mismatch. And there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of assumptions, there's a lot of clarifications that needs to be done, and you've got to make a U-turn and redo a lot of things when that's the case. And so one of the very, very first things that I want to do is to make sure that I want to analyze things first. Identify the problems, scope things out, make sure that the requirements, the criteria, the situations are crystal clear before we move on. So after that, we can now remove stuff. That's one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes efficiency, again, means speed. But why are you running or doing something really well if that thing doesn't even need to be there? So sometimes we are locked into very legacy situations or legacy mindsets just because things have always been the case or always has been done that way, or could be we had a team or a team member who was on our business doing things a certain way, and then technology progressed, or the requirements changed but things still continued being done the same exact way, right? And all these things add clutter and add drag to our businesses, to our processes, to any one of these areas here that we talked about. So first thing first, remove things that don't matter anymore, are obsolete, or are wasteful. So once that's done, then we can go to the simplify stage. Now in simplify, it's similar to remove. Sometimes we cannot remove things. We cannot remove parts of processes. Sometimes we cannot remove processes. And for whatever that's left, we try to simplify. We simplify in terms of bringing in tools. We simplify in terms of bringing in better processes. We simplify in terms of reducing usage. Whatever it takes to make the process, to make the area a lot more efficient. We do this by simplifying. That's one of the best ways to make things more efficient. After we go through that, we can now move to automate. Again, with automation, tools, technology are your best friend. We don't automate at the start because with automation, we don't want to do things that don't even need to be there. And we don't do things that are redundant or obsolete. So automate is one of the last things that we do. Only after all these things are done do we move to the very last step, which is delegate. We don't want to delegate things that, again, don't need to be there, don't need to be done, or in the first place can be removed. That's why delegation is the last. Delegation does cost you manpower. It has a cost to it. So we don't want delegate to be at the start. And that's why, it's the last part of the funnel. And when we look at this is a funnel because it literally has 5 steps. And when your tasks and processes go down the funnel this way, you start filtering it just like a funnel, and then at the very end, you get something that's efficient and highly productive. So that's the RSET funnel, and that's how you improve efficiency. Again, I hope you guys remember the difference between efficiency and effectiveness, and focus on effectiveness before we even talk about efficiency. Speed and direction, guys, that's what's important. Well, if this video has helped you, you know what to do. Please like it or drop me a comment about what parts have impacted you or you've taken away from. If you know of anybody that would appreciate a video like this, please share this with them. And don't forget to subscribe so that you'll be notified of any other videos that I put out just like this to help you. Please take care, and I'll see you in the next video.